Hey guys, DanTheWolfman here. I'm going to do a little reminiscing video because I'm feeling nostalgic. Listen to Rich and Norton talking about the Gracies and Machados on Viking Samurai's channel, and just started listening to Boss Root on Matt Sarah's podcast. Matt, have me on, or Viking, have me on again. That'd be cool. Don't know if anyone will care, but just bringing back some of these memories since I've been hit in the head so much. I just finished a 45-minute workout, eating healthier, trying to do all that kind of thing. And so let me talk a little bit about the Gracies and the Machados. I started Gracie Jiu-jitsu back in late December 1996. I left university to go to the other side of the state, moved to the other side of the state to find the one BJJ blue belt in the state, who him and all those early schools I was going to kept switching between under Hoist Gracie and under Kaiki. So there it is. Actually, my blue belt was from Kaiki. I did go to a Hoist Gracie seminar back in the day, and with Helson Gracie and things like that. So actually, I think I trained with Helson quite a few times back in the day. And Hoist at that seminar, probably like 97, etc. Now, April 97 also started training with Dan Severn, so that kind of put me a little weird there with some of the Gracies, it seemed like. And then, I was training with all the like Japanese Shudo and Pancrase guys and stuff, so I kind of marketed myself and was more of a catch wrestler, learning the Jiu-Jitsu, but I digress. So over the many, many years, obviously, a lot of the schools I would go visit and stuff were under Gracies or Machados. In 2000, WWE invited me to come to Tough Enough Tryouts, WWF back then. So they were showing my video for like 3 months leading up to it. One of the Tough Enough Tryouts visited Renzo Gracie. Renzo was cool as hell. Come here, my brother. You train with Seven? Hey, that cop over there, go show him some stuff. So I showed him how to spear Tony Blauer, taking my spear, how to spear another guy, spear him into the wall, take him down, hit the nuts, pass the guard, that kind of thing. But Renzo's always been good to me, even online on Twitter years ago, was always supportive of my Combatives Street Jiu-Jitsu instructional on BJJ Fanatics. I said, hey, you could even straight blast to the clinch against Kondo, like I straight blasted Kondo. Even Tonon, I think, attempted something that I said, oh, you should try this. So always cool with Renzo. Years later, I worked on the movie Red Belt. It was like the 2-week period I was Red Belt. I was a feature coach, like trainer, for the African boxer for Toro that was going to fight in the finals of Red Belt. Matt Sarah just trashed Red Belt. If you go into Red Belt thinking it's never back down, you didn't like Red Belt, which is what most people did. If you went into Red Belt knowing it was a samurai/western film, you can appreciate in like Combatives, old school Machado self-defense, then you can like Red Belt. But anyway, I worked on Red Belt, and on Red Belt was a bunch of people, Enson Inoue that I knew, and all kinds of guys. Talking to the Machados and this and that and the other. Hinato Magna, I went to his school quite a few times. So I'd work on sets after that, and I would be exhausted working, be on set by 6 a.m., work all day, 12 hours, and then I'd try to hit a gym on the way home. Even if I was training at Gokor's or 10th Planet or whatever back then, I would try to stop at various gyms, even do like gi jiu-jitsu, whatever, at a Machado school or something like that. I hit up Hinato's quite a few times. And then one day I was off in traffic, and you got to debate, do I want to spend 2 hours in traffic or go to training and spend 1 hour in traffic? It was a whole another hour to like the advanced class or higher rank class or however it was at Hinato's. I went to John Machado's school. So I do have a very weird, and some people repeated it from like John's students. I don't know. I would always try to be cool with a certain Gracies and Machados. So this was weird. I think I was already cool with Higan Machado. Higan Machado a few times has invited me to like his private dojo, his new dojo, private MMA training, things like that. I'm not sure what the time frame, but I believe Higan had already invited me one time to one in like Southern California, where I trained with Crafty Dog. So I already did like an hour and a half with Crafty Dog doing stick stuff. Kali Tudo, we used to like experiment his Kali Tudo entry on me, which I did use the first round sparring Theodore Machado, by the way, to at least clinch him, driving the wall. I couldn't take him down, but anyway, it did work. I did my Kali Tudo stutter step entry. And then I trained Jiu-Jitsu with all the Higgins guys. And then at the very end of it, I'm like already trained like 3+ hours. And then that wrestling coach that's still around MMA for like Black House or whatever, he wanted to get, I'm like, okay, man, can try and take me down. I did some pretty good takedown defense. He got me down once or twice, but like he was working pretty hard for how exhausted I was, like just working. I was basically just not really going for a lot, just mostly takedown defense on him. So anyway, I think I was already cool with Higgin. Back to my little story. One day got out of a set, shortly after Red Belt, where I would usually go at Hinados. It was too long. Sometimes I'd even go to Wushu Kung Fu next to Hinados first for an hour with this old Chinese guy that worked with Jet Li back in the 70s, won a championship in Beijing or something. And then it was too late. So I drove to John Machado school. Never had been to John Machado, never like really talked to him, but he said come. And so I did the whole gi class, and I'm super respectful, right? I'm like a brand new purple belt under Eddie. So I'm like, well, technically my grandmaster then is a Machado dude. So I'm super respectful and all this, but I think he knew I had trained with Severin and MMA and this and that. And then we do gi jiu-jitsu, and I go with all a student. I think I went with him. So I'm going with him. He catches me a few times. I'm okay in the gi. I'm a black belt now, but I focus more on no-gi and MMA and self-defense stuff, right? So eventually, like, he could do a triple setup, cross-color, choke armbar, triangle, get something kind of thing. So we're already, like, I've gone a good bit, and then I'm like, sir, would you mind if I take my gi top off? He's like, yeah, but you have to go change. Okay, went and changed. And, like, then I guess he took it as, like, a challenge. So we're starting on our knees. And John Machado, and I'm not talking shit, this is just one of the weirder things that happened in my lifetime of MMA, jumps to his feet and tries his full power to get me in a guillotine choke. So when you wrestle from the knees, in my opinion, the way I always taught people, you could not jump up to your feet. You can post one leg to turn a corner, to double/knee tap, that kind of thing. But to jump up on both was cheating. He jumped on both, like snapped me, jumped up on both, and hit me with his hardest, killing my throat, full bore guillotine attempt. And I defended it. And I defended it, and I defended it, and I defended it, and I got out. And he did not like that. So what turned into like, a typical 80% jiu-jitsu in the gi roll, 75%, 80% like, thing, turned into 100% challenge match in his mind now, because apparently I had the audacity to not tap to his full bore tricky cheating submission attempt in front of all the students. We went, I believe, I always guesstimated it, I think at like maybe about 20 to 7 minutes, something like that was my guess. I had a very good internal timer, being the high functioning autistic SOB that I am. He was trying very hard to spin me. Now, given most of this time, he would sweep me, dominate me, like positionally, like if it was points, like he destroyed me. I was a brand new purple belt. Okay. But, then I'd reverse him, and then he'd try to triangle me, and he'd almost get close, switch to an armbar, almost get close. I defend. I had very good submission defense. Eventually, he cooked me enough, which is kind of how all the Gracies and even Hicks on Black Belt, maybe I'll talk about someday, if they cook me for 25 minutes, maybe eventually you could get me. But had I used all my muscle early and broken your leg, I probably could have gotten you too, kind of situation. So he eventually got me with triangle choke. So that's it. But it's just like a weird, like I bowed to him. Everything was sir. I was super respectful. I did a, hour class. We did a half hour of gi rolling. And I guess, like, he didn't like that. I'm like, well, hey, now would you mind going without the gi? No gi. So I took the top off. I think I had pants on. I don't know. But I took the top off, and changed into a t-shirt. So that's my funny John Machado story. I think I've stopped at Hinato's once or twice after that, but he wasn't there. But they were always, like, respectful. I did the gi. I did the techniques. I didn't try to be a know-it-all. Whatever. That was fine. I trained with Higgin a few more times. So that was one school. And then there was two more schools. Then he opened, there was a 2 miles south of Legends. There was a gym that kept changing hands. And Higgin just taken it over. He invited me to private MMA training. But he says, go light with that guy. And I told this story before, rest in peace. It was Anthony Johnson. And I didn't know why. I'm like, oh, this guy's fighting I think it was for his second UFC fight. Like his first one was prelims. Nobody knew him. I didn't know him. And Higgins like, don't tap him out. Let him get you in some stuff. Let him sweep you, whatever. And he was so weak. And I had no fucking idea that, quite frankly, you see me interview him years later. Like, he was a huge friggin' giant compared to me, and I'm a big dude. So anyway, Higgins another time, and then another school, the first night he opened his school, I want to support him and to have people there his very first opening night at a new school with the Martin Wheeler Sistema school. So I went there to and did the Jiu-Jitsu and then did the Sistema and tried to support them. So I've always tried to be cool with the Machados, mostly Higgin, but a lot of Machado schools, with the Gracies. Always hit it off with Henzo, trained with Hoyler a couple times, Holker once. I've met Hickson twice. Japan New Year's, talked to him a bit, and he got what I was doing and his son wasn't. I was trying to set Kron up for a super fight versus Aoki to get him money, and Kron got offended by it. Gracie got offended by it, but like Hickson just kind of nodded at me like he knew what I was doing in front of all the Japanese press. I was setting up him a match with Shinya Aoki to make some big bucks, because I also like the Aoki. And then I talked to Hickson again at a nice bar after Metamorris 4, I think it was. And we talked, and he was super cool. And I was training with Saulo Ribeiro and Zenji Ribeiro, and he was tight with Saulo. So like Hickson was always cool with me. So I was always super cool with Henzo, super cool with Hickson. And Metamorris I did interview, and the guy they told me he was a professional camera guy in Hollywood. Where I also worked, he didn't record. So I lost the one with Horian's son. I can't think right now because I got to rush to work in 3 minutes. But anyway, but then years later, Metamorris and Deep both at the same time gave strikes on my channel. I had a footage of Aoki, the back extender mat, how Crone got him off the mat, but one of the students ran, and they were literally laying on the student's back. I had a camera angle. I guess years later, they decided they didn't like that proof, even though I thought it would make controversy and make money in the future, but I guess they didn't put two and two together. And even though I said, this was recorded there, if any Gracie has a problem with this, anyone involved in Metamorris, please just notify me, I'll take it down. It was fine for like 4 years, and then boom, they gave me a strike. Maybe they don't like me giving all my content away, my hour-long playlist, away for free. And guys, you should get Combatives and Street Jiu-Jitsu on BJJ Fanatics. But anyway, there's my little stories about the Gracies and the Machados. And so always tried to be cool. Always thought it was cool with Henzo. Seemed cool with Hoyler. Got a picture with him again when I was training at Black House with Machida. And, I like talking to Hickson. I wish I would have had the opportunity to roll with Hickson, and that stinks that I never did. But then there's the whole, and I'm kind of always was more the catch wrestler / Carlson Gracie type, and jiu-jitsu would have been a lot different in America had it been Hickson in the UFC, or had it been a Carlson lineage, top game, pressure type thing versus the fighting on your back guard, which became sport jiu-jitsu. So things would have went a whole lot different. Hickson always got takedown in a mount, one fight into half guard, and he always submitted guys within 30 seconds of getting the takedown into mount, or one time into a guy's half guard. Jiu-jitsu would have looked a lot differently, and you should learn the self-defense. And maybe go with slaps and taking down a guy with boxing gloves on, like it was when I started. So that's my little history with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and Machado Jiu-Jitsu. And nowadays, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has nothing to do with Brazilian, since I was the first guy mixing catch wrestling and Jiu-Jitsu together before kind of everyone does that now, and the leg locks and the this and the that and the everything. And it's not like sport Jiu-Jitsu is not Brazilian anymore. Just call it Jiu-Jitsu. But I digress. So I don't know where I stand with any of them now. I mean, I've interviewed, the guys, but then again, they shut down my channel that was making me a lot more money than the current channel, even at twice the subs, which was paying for all my medication. So Metamorris, whoever did that, sucks on you, especially if it was one of the Gracies that was nice to my face. And they kind of started now teaching how to spin a guy in a rear naked choke I saw the other day. That's my spin a tango move I started teaching in 2012 and from my DVD instructional on BJJ Fanatics. So I thought it was these memories sprung up. I've always tried to be cool with those guys and respectful. And Henzo is freaking awesome to me. It's kind of like me, who doesn't take no shit. And, mentally, the old Gracies were that way. But I saw, like, if you went into the history of the George Gracie and the Carlson Gracie guys, and versus, like, the Helio Horion side, things would have been a lot different. And things people kind of look at, oh, no, this is the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Well, what about this? And the guys who actually fought Vale Tudo matches, not submission challenge matches. There's a very big difference there. But anyway, little segue history about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, Gracies, and the Machados. And, well, there it is. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. If you want more of this about different fighters and that kind of thing before I forget all the stories, maybe I will. I tried it before. I did 4 stories with training with Tito and Severin and stuff like that was like, but they didn't get a whole ton of views. But maybe some of you guys out there still like this stuff, or maybe want me to do live streams where you can ask martial arts questions. I just don't put out the martial arts content anymore because I covered it all typically 10 to 15 years before anyone else did, and no one gave me the respect of those techniques or blending together, wrestling into submissions, front headlock stuff, calf kick and calf kick defense, or whatever it was. Anyway, guys, Hexen by armbar, that's the right choice always, and I'll catch you on the flip side.